Hello, I'm Jerry Wise, and I'm the director for the Center for Self-Differentiation. I'm a relationship and life coach and a relationship expert. I've spent 40 years helping people become less reactive, and this video is entitled, How Do I Become Less Reactive? I use Bowen Family Systems theory to help people, and similar to Brene Brown, Harriet Lerner, Jenny Brown, Andrea Shera, these are all folks who use Bowen Family Systems theory in their work. First of all, what is reactivity? And a lot of people will ask me that. Why do you use reactivity in your in a family systems understanding? Why is reactivity so important? Because reactivity is when the emotional field or the circuitry of the relationship system pings each other, and then we react and we become reactive as a result of it. Often it is unconscious. It goes back to our functioning and our pinging within our family of origin. Now we can then have conscious feelings that come as a result of that, but often that pinging and the way we function in relationships is automatic and deep within us. That's why it's so important to work at that level rather than just dealing maybe on the secondary level of feelings. Though feelings are very important and feelings can be dealt with and resolved, but if we really want to have deep change in our sense of self, then we begin to do the work of self-differentiation, or working on the self, which deals with that underlying emotional field. By the way, I wanted to mention, I'm fortunate that I can be down here in Miami South Beach. I came down to see some clients down here, and I am fortunate to be in the sun, and I wanted you to see the ocean in the back and enjoy that as well. So, what is reactivity? It's our deep emotional system or an inherited emotional field from our family of origin. It's when we say it's when our family is inside of us, and often which we don't feel very readily. It's just a part of the given of us. That's why it's sometimes harder to get to, and it takes some different ways to begin to heal and deal with that and mature that part of us. But this emotional field and this deep emotional system is always working within us at all times, and it's triggered, and as a result then we feel feelings, and then feelings comes as a result of that. Most therapy, most coaching, most pastoral counseling, most help that people get deal with the kind of a tertiary level, or a level in which they deal with feelings alone, or deals with the symptoms of the deeper emotional system, not the deeper limbic lizard brain part of us, which is a part of this emotional field. You change that lizard brain, you change that emotional field, and you'll change your feelings, you'll change your sense of self. And that's basically Bowen Family Systems theory is the view of that. He has a very natural systems theory, meaning it comes from nature and how nature interacts, cells interact, animals interact, and there's that limbic part of it, that very deep emotional part of us, that's the lizard brain part of us, and then there's the more higher frontal part. So there's the top brain and the lower brain. And we want to begin to change some of the lower brain so that it affects the top brain less. And then we feel more sense of self. We feel more mature. We're not as reactive. Feelings are very important. However, working to change this emotional system is the most important thing for deeper, real, permanent change in our level of functioning as adults, emotionally, behaviorally, and in relationships. Let me give you an example, and I call it the family prayer. I've shared this in another video. It has to do many years ago. I was a pastor, and my father had passed away, And of course, if you're a pastor in the family, you're expected, and what's considered automatic is you should do all of the prayers prior to the meals that you have. And you should say grace. Well, I really didn't want to do that. And at all of our family gatherings, my mother and everyone would look at me like, okay, Jerry, now you're on. You do what you're supposed to do. And I'm expected to give that prayer. But I really didn't want to. I didn't want to go to dinners and be the pastor. I wanted to go to dinners and just be a family member. I didn't want to be the one who has that role or responsibility. So I began to think about that. I didn't like it. I felt uncomfortable. If I didn't do it, I had feelings of fear of rejection, guilt. I had a fear of being myself and choosing myself. It would be so selfish. God wouldn't be happy. The family wouldn't be happy. There's all of these emotions going around. But on that deeper level of family of origin brain, that family of origin emotional part of us, there was a fixed role in which I was supposed to function and perform, not only behaviorally but emotionally. And in fact, I'm supposed to feel guilt and fear and shame and all those kinds of things if I don't do that and if I don't comply. And if I don't do it, then I will disappoint my mother, and it will challenge that role that I play in the family. Maybe I feel there's conditional love rather than unconditional love, and then they will withhold their conditional love from me, and then I will feel abandoned. So I have all of those fears going on, so I just continue to stay in that role. Well, it didn't make me happy and didn't help me function very well. So then my choices are fight or flight. I can come and be mad and react all over everybody. Why do I have to be the one that always has to say the prayer? What's wrong with some of you doing this? Blah, blah. Now I'm angry, and that's reactivity. Or I could withdraw in reactivity, fight or flight, and I'm not going to come to the dinners anymore because I don't want to give the prayer and I can't confront everybody. So I'll just make up excuses why I can't be there all the time. So again, one's very passive, one's too active or too assertive or too aggressive. And we often find ourselves falling between those two sides when we can't deal with the emotional field within us. Then there's a way of choosing fight or flight or stabilization. And muscles do that. You can stretch back, stretch forward, and then you can stabilize. Muscles do all three of those functions. And we want to work on stabilizing our emotions, neither pushing forward or pushing backwards, over-connecting or over-distance, angry versus withdrawn. We want to stabilize in the middle. So I'd begun to learn about some of this when I was many years ago, many decades ago, and my level of functioning, and about my level of functioning in my family of origin. And I received coaching to help me begin to deal with this and change the Jerry inside of me and change the lower brain within me, not just the upper brain. I had been to other therapists and talked about the upper brain, the feelings I felt, and they would say, well, are you sure? Why do you feel, are you sure you're going to be rejected? And let's work through that feeling of rejection. And those aren't bad therapies, they're not bad work to do. But it's helpful when you have a whole view of them as a whole and see them in the system, then those even become more effective when you work with those feelings. I received coaching to understand and begin to observe and understand my emotional functioning within my family of origin. I was beginning to learn to discover what I wanted. What's my true self? I don't want to pray at the family dinner. I really don't. I don't hate God. I don't hate my family. I don't hate anybody. I just don't want to do that. That's not my preference. I'd rather go to the dinner, eat, and enjoy myself and be with my family. I was coached and helped to execute this desire to not pray, not to say grace, to coach myself to be calmer, deal with my feelings that I was feeling, work on non-reactivity, allowing others to be themselves and me to be me, whether I do the prayer or whether I don't. Staying connected with my family, staying connected while not being cut off, while being me and being an authentic me. I didn't know how to do any of those things. And I didn't know those things could transform the inner me so much to learn how to do those things. So before the prayer, before our family dinner, I think I had told my mother 3 different times that I really did not want to do the prayer today. I just wanted to let you know ahead of time. I know that's something I usually and typically do, but I don't want to. She ignored those statements 3 different times and acted as though I didn't even say them. And so we get to the family dinner. Guess what happens? Mom says, "And Jerry, will you return thanks or will you offer the prayer for the food?" And I stood firm, declared self, stated in an I position, but connected and stayed connected to everyone, that, Mom, I mentioned to you that I'd really rather not do the grace and saying the prayer before the meal, and I just wanted to share that with you again. And I stopped, went nowhere, didn't rescue anybody, didn't run from anybody, didn't put the pressure on anybody else. I just stated my beliefs and my wants and needs at this point and stayed emotionally stable. Even though I was feeling some anxiety and feelings inside for sure. But actually I was ignoring those feelings and staying with working on staying calm and stable. And was working on thinking more rather than feeling more. This resulted in a greater sense of self, greater calmness in my emotional system, fewer feelings in the long run, less fear, and greater maturity for me. This process affects the lizard or lower brain and the limbic system, our emotional system that is deep and unfelt, and it produces less reactivity. So what do we do to become less reactive? Well, I just gave you an example of some ways in which we work on that. There are some behaviors and feeling states which help us affect the deeper self of ours, that self that we have, that lower brain. First of all, observe. Work on observing, rather than what I always say, observe rather than absorb. We so oftentimes absorb other people and relationship systems, and then our functioning remains immature and it remains the same. If we can think more rather than feel more when we're interacting with people, we generally can be stronger and have and focus on what we need to do more, and observe the pinging, and observe that rather than I'm just my feelings and you're just your feelings. Listen more. Listen to you, listen to others. Resist absorbing the other person and their feelings. Take a think more and feel less focus. Identify and break the family of origin beliefs, the family of origin values, the family of origin rules and roles. In other words, we challenge those with our own sense of self. Does our authentic self go along with our family values, rules, roles, etc.? If it doesn't, we begin to resist that, slowly, calmly, and maturely. Over time, that changes our lower brain and our functioning, and we begin to become less reactive. Focus on deep change and achieving deep change, and the hard work of changing your instinctive brain to raise your level of self-differentiation. Change your emotional functioning position in your family of origin. Bowen always talked about our family of origin is what imprinted us the most, and that's that deep level natural family brain that we have within us. And we begin to change how we function there, it will change how we function in every other relationship. Increase your awareness when you are pinged and function more emotionally independently. In other words, if I'm pinged and I feel like I need to do what you want me to do, I need to resist that So, and be myself. And that's not easy to do, but the coaching process can really, really help you with that. Take action to be more of a separate self. Embrace your emotional reactivity. Interrupt your patterns of distancing, overfocus on others, and enmeshment. Exiting roles, because we all play roles, and all of us play roles at work, at church, at home, in our relationships, in our family, and that can affect that deeper level self within us. Remember, it takes working on increasing your emotional backbone and the ability to go without love or approval. I've got a video on that you can see that video online on my YouTube channel, and it's called The Ability to Go Without Love or Approval. Increasing your ability to go without love or approval. Because if you can do that, you can act more independently, you will be pinged less, and your lower brain will be less reactive, and you're always reactive and anxious and angry and what. It really does calm down that ancient part of us, that very ancient lizard brain of ours. Deal with and resolve your resistance to becoming more of a self. Oftentimes we have so many fears and anxieties about becoming our real selves. We've got to work on those and work on those downsides of what we believe when we become a true self. You can work on those downsides, and then the true self work starts to happen naturally. Remember, if you can learn to resist the pull and push from your remaining functioning the way you always have. The pull and push for you remaining in the functioning and remaining the way you've always functioned, the system will eventually recalibrate to a higher level of functioning. So if you're able to function at a higher level and an authentic you, many will not like that, your family of origin may not like that, but if you'll go through the resistance phase of them resisting you on it, and wanting you to change back, eventually it will recalibrate the family and your relationship system, and you will be more accepted. The newer you, the higher level functioning you, will become more accepted in the system. Become more aware of your programming and emotional circuitry as you are connected to others. You ping them, they ping you, back and forth, and begin to learn that system. You can begin to make changes in it and be your true self. Define yourself. What do you want? What do you need? Who are you? What do you prefer? What do you choose? And what is your true, authentic self? That's who we want to be, and that will calm our system down the more we choose to be that. Andrea Shera, in her book, The Mindful Compass, and by the way, those are the two very good books. Jenny Brown's Growing Yourself Up, a Bowen Family Systems view of recovery, healing, and growing up. Andrea Shera's book, a little lengthier, little more tedious to read, but excellent, called The Mindful Compass. She says in there, to define a self in a relationship system requires strength of conviction, an understanding of the way systems are organized, a sense of humor, and an ability to become more objective and strategic. And that's exactly what I teach and I help people do who come and work with me. So first off, what do? Start very small. And start small in defining yourself with others and your family of origin. Well, I would rather go to this restaurant. No, Mom, I'd rather go back to the hotel than continue shopping. No, son, I don't want you to go because it's a school night. To my sister, I would like you to help me clean up after our family meal. I would appreciate that very much. Become more authentic in small ways that don't challenge the system quite so much, and begin to practice your authentic self while staying confident with you, and choosing you and not rejecting them. Watch and observe resistance in the relationship system. You will get some pushback. Either ignore it or say, well, we're just different, or that's what I choose. Thirdly, absorb less, stay in an observing research mode, and again, think more and feel less. Fourthly, become more self with each person in your life. Do more self-care. Become more authentic in relationships. Work on discovering the difference in your life between fact and feeling. Many of us think. In other words, we just have those feelings in it, and it causes us to think in a certain way. We want to be able to separate out, this is feeling, this is thinking, and make some distance between those. If those are combined into think, feel, then we're going to be less mature in terms of our maturity and our reactivity. If we can separate those out, this is my thinking, this is my feeling, we can manage those. We'll act, behave, and feel much more self-differentiated and much more mature, calm, etc. Andrea Shera defines the work of self-differentiation, or becoming less reactive, is the process of increasing differentiation of self. It involves the person's effort to change or interrupt the deeply embedded, inflexible relationship patterns that are shaped by the multi-generational family process. And that multi-generational family process is that family brain, that very deep, lower brain. And again, it is the effort of a person to change or interrupt the deeply embedded, inflexible relationship patterns and the system that are shaped by the multi-generational family process. We want to affect a change in that bottom automatic family of origin brain, and not just our top brain, our consciousness. I want to tell you, I hope this was a help today. I know it can be kind of confusing. It's hard to share in a very short video. Sometimes some multi-layer type of explanations of emotional systems. But I wanted to at least share a little bit of that with you today. If you need help, contact me to work with me and aid you in this process and discover a new life for you. Contact me at jerrywise5@gmail.com. I have a website online, Jerry Wise Relationship Systems. I'm on Twitter, JerryWiseRS. You can also find all of my videos on Jerry Wise Relationship Systems channel on YouTube. I hope you'll join my channel there. Also my phone number is up there as well. I want to thank you very much for watching today. Have a great day.